Hey, welcome to Woodwork by IG. Today I'm going to go over the review of the SST saw calibrator, or Stupid Simple Tools saw calibrator tool. This was a gift I received for the holidays, and so I just opened it now that the weather's warming up and I can get my saw stuff all together in my garage. And as a hobbyist, I've never calibrated a saw before. I have used some other techniques to calibrate a saw, but never with a proper saw calibration tool. So I'm very new to this. I've watched some videos online, and when I saw this tool online and put it on my holiday list, it looked nice. It got decent reviews on Amazon, and it was fairly affordable. So it's not as expensive as the woodpecker tools that you see online. It's also not as cheap as some of the Rockler tools. So this fits right in between. I think when I purchased this, it was $75 before taxes and shipping. And I don't know if that price is the same today, but I'm going to give you a little overview of what I like, what I don't like, and yeah, hope you enjoy. All right, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to do my best to answer them. Obviously, this is on my phone, and some of these parts are pretty small, so I'm going to do my best to get shots, but let's open it up. So it does come in this cardboard box, which is fine. I don't see a huge issue with that overall. I will say that off the bat, the tool is made of this machined aluminum, and it looks very nice, and it feels very nice. You know, it has a significant amount of weight to it. It's not plastic by any means, and it looks impressive. When you originally get it, the indicator here doesn't come attached. You have to put that in, and it's pretty easy to do that. There's a little, if you can see the hole there, there's a little screw there that kind of helps keep the tool in place. And yeah, so if I put it down here on my saw, it does, you know, it's a little, if we can get this view here, it is a little, what do you call it? It doesn't sit flat right on the flat surface of your saw, which is fine. But you know, it seems great. So once I put it together, I kind of noticed some things that I did not like. First of all, I want to go back to the box. So it comes with this QR code from Stupid Simple Tools, which takes you to the PDF of how like the tool is supposed to work and how you're supposed to use the tool. And I have to say, I'm a little disappointed by that. You know, if you go on Woodpecker's site, they have YouTube videos on how to use their tools. Rockler, I don't know if they have tools, but that you can find other tools that people are using made by Rockler or made by Woodpecker. And I didn't find anything about SST on YouTube or on, you know, just generally Googling. I mean, a few reviews here and there, a few shorts. I found a YouTube short, but that wasn't super helpful on how to put the tool together and how to use the tool, especially as somebody that's new to calibrating a tool. I really want to understand how to use the tool for its purpose, made by the company that made the tool. Every tool is made slightly differently, even though they have the same purpose. I just think that's a miss and something they could improve upon. The next thing that I did and noticed pretty quickly was once I get it in my miter slot here, let me pause this real quick. So once I get in my miter slot, and in their instructions they tell you this, they say, you know, do a little quick fit check. So I'm going to try to get a good view of this, but you can kind of tell it's a little loose. It rocks back and forth. I don't know if you can see that, but it rocks back and forth just a little bit. And what I noticed, or what they explain, is that inside of this tool, there's two set screws. And these screws are what you would use to kind of put pressure against your miter slot to help it stay set in there, right? Because every miter slot's just a slightly different. So while I think that's fine, I actually thought this right here was what was going to hold this in place. And that's my mistake. But there's nothing explicit on their website until you get into the guide, which is not easy to get to be totally honest, unless you have the QR code. And I found that a little disappointing. So what this does is it actually tightens the ability to move this tool back and forth. So, right, so once it reaches, you know, I would loosen this, reach it here, and then right now I can begin to make my measurements. And I have to say, this is actually not super, I don't know, it doesn't slide very well. I'll say it's a little clunky. But Okay, so I tighten that back up, and now, right. Okay, so back to the fit in the miter gauge, or in the miter slot. So what you have to do, and it's a little tricky, I have to say, and I think it's one of the pain points of this tool, is you have to get a little screwdriver. So I picked a little screwdriver out that I have. And you have to make the adjustments here in order to get it to fit inside the miter slot properly. Right now, if you don't care about the wiggle room, that's fine. Obviously, you'll have some measurements that might be off. But I have to say, I'm a little disappointed that this is the way to make the adjustments. And for two reasons. One, this is kind of hard to do, right? So you have to really play around. You got to make like almost 1/8 of a turn to just like see, okay, so that fits in still. So I'm going to make it a little bit more. Okay, so now I can't even get it through. Okay, yes, I can. So now I'm gonna make it a little bit more tighter, and now I can't get it through. So it's too tight. So now I'm gonna just back it out just a tiny bit, like 1/8 of a turn. And still didn't get it. But I think you get the point. And you have to do this on both sides. And I have to say, that's really inconvenient. I think with a tool like the woodpecker tool, if you watch a video, or even the Rockler tool, they make it seem, at least, a lot easier to make that adjustment so it fits in the miter slot. You can also, so right, there's two of these holes. So there's one here at the bottom and there's one here at the top. So it's hard to do this while holding the cell phone, but like you can try to make the adjustment on both sides first and then put it in. What I found though is that these screws are actually extremely sensitive. So I had it working before. Okay, now I got it. But actually, I don't know if you could tell, but this screw, let's see if I can zoom in here. So this screw is like basically at like 12/6, right? It's top to bottom. So if I try to keep it steady, that's hard. If I go here, right? So I made a little bit of an adjustment. I'm gonna push it in, or try to push it in, so I can't. Try again. Okay. And now it's moved just slightly, right? Like, so I had it here at, let's say, like 11 or 11 o'clock. Okay. And now it's kind of back at noon. And I don't know if it's just my lack of experience or what it is, but it just seems to me, see how it's actually like, because it's sliding against the miter slot, it actually kind of, you see how the screw just kind of changes just a little bit when you play around with it. And I just think that's, not great. Like with a calibration tool, you're trying to calibrate your tool accurately, and having to make these really, really micro adjustments makes it harder to make this accuracy a thing. So right now I go back to the other side and I start making the adjustments here. Let me see if I can get this. Set up here. Same thing. So you got to really get it so that it kind of doesn't wiggle, and it's hard. You have to do it a bunch of times. You really need two hands, honestly. So I would say that's one of the downsides. I was pretty disappointed with that. The other thing is that it's top heavy. So look at this. All right, I'm going to zoom out. And I'm going to try to get it as level as I can. But watch this. So it doesn't sit flat in the miter slot to begin with, because the gauge and the component that holds the gauge is just too heavy. So, right? So you see that? Now, would that impact your measurement? Probably not. But the problem is when you're going to line up your measurement, right? Let's say I line it up. Now, if I push the slot, right, if I put some weight on one side or the other, it's going to begin to change the dial, right? You can tell that the dial's shifting, and all I'm doing is pressing this up or down. And the miter gauge, I mean, yeah, it's a tad bit loose in the miter slot, but even so, just by putting a little bit of weight, like counterweight, on the tool, it provides an unstable kind of environment that makes calibrating the tool just even a little bit harder. And I find that, again, another disappointing piece. So the tool feels well made, but in terms of its functionality, I think that the functionality just has a lot to be desired. Whether it's getting it in the miter slot, having to adjust those screws, which are really sensitive, I think is a downside. And then on top of that, I think the way that this tool was designed and actually functions in terms of how it's weighted is a miss. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, other tools are like this as well. But that's just my experience so far. And then again, I would love for there to be a video of how to kind of make these adjustments, because there's not much out there, at least that I could find. Amazon has, I think it's like 4 or 4.5 star review, but I would review this at like a 2. For the amount of money that you're spending, I would expect this thing to work a lot better. And again, maybe that's just my mistake, but I find those 2 issues to be really frustrating as a new user, as somebody that's not super great or doesn't know a lot about calibrating a tool, or doesn't know a lot about how to calibrate a table saw with these calibration tools. I find that to be really frustrating and something that, leaves a lot to be desired. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Again, maybe I did something wrong and I don't know. But if you have any similar experiences or you have any recommendations, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching.